You know what? Today I'm going to cycle so that I can save 1.7 trillion rupees. Hey folks, CA Rachana Ranade here and I welcome you all to a very different video wherein we are going to discuss that if cycling can save us 1.7 trillion rupees. I'm sure you might be like, what's the connection between these two? Well, I recently read a social media post which had went pretty much viral, which mentioned about a fact that cyclist is bad for the economy. When I started reading it, I thought like, what's the connection? But the connection that was established was that if a person is cycling very regularly, number one, that person doesn't spend on petrol, doesn't spend on buying newer and newer vehicles, and spends less on healthcare. So such a person would not be contributing a lot towards the economy. While one side of this story is pretty much logical, I thought that there has to be a other side to the story, and there are certain disadvantages, has to be some advantages of cycling to the economy as well. So in today's video, we are going to explore what could be the advantages of this. But before we move on, I would want to really thank Dhananjay and Nobin for their wonderful comments. Well, like I mentioned right now, the author had talked about these three disadvantages of cycling, right? But again, everyone has his or her own thought process. I definitely respect the thought process of the author, but I would want to also place my thought process for the same, right? For me, for example, if a person is saving on petrol, if he's not spending on petrol, I think that's a good point for the economy. Hows and whys we are going to discuss throughout the video. So instead of that being counted as a disadvantage, I would want to count it as an advantage, right? Even one more point that we talked about, that this person is going to spend less on healthcare. Again, I would say this is not an disadvantage. In fact, that is an advantage. And I would want to add one more advantage, that is of reduced air pollution. And with all these three advantages in place now, I can tell you that with all these things, we can actually get an annual benefit of 1.7 trillion rupees. And I'm sure you are going to be like, asa kasa kai? And exactly that's what we are going to talk about in the coming parts of the video. Let's start with the very first benefit, that is the obvious one, savings in fuel cost. But the question is how much? According to a report by the Energy and Resources Institute, it is estimated that a 50% substitution of short distance work trips under 8 kilometers could result in the total fuel expenditure savings of 27 billion rupees. I'm sure everyone also knows that we are a net importer of crude oil, and that is the reason why if we consume less petrol, our fiscal deficit is obviously going to be benefited. Basically, our imports will be less and our fiscal strength will increase. But then this is at an economy level, and I'm sure you also have one more question, that why cycles? Can't we just use EVs and save on petrol? Agreed, that is also an answer, but we are going to talk about EVs in the coming sections of the video. But before that, let me discuss one more point. We did discuss about the economy level. What about the individual level? How much could we save? So for that, I'll give you my own example. My office and my house is roughly 3 kilometers apart. So 3 kilometers one way, two way will be 6 kilometers. And if I were to travel 25 days in a month, the total distance would be around 150 kilometers. If I add another 50 kilometers here and there, total will be 200 kilometers. And my car barely gives 10 liters ka average. So I will have to purchase 20 liters of petrol every month at 105 rupees rate in Pune. So my total outflow for petrol will be 2100 rupees. And I'm sure you'd be like, इतने सारे पैसे का क्या कीजिएगा आप? Well, this money, even if you feel is a small amount, this money can help you to earn and save lakhs of rupees. But how? For that, you can use this money to enroll for our Mastering Money Management course, through which you will learn the 7 steps to get financially independent. The second point is about savings due to health benefits. Now, globally, it has been seen that a sedentary lifestyle has adverse impacts on the mental and physical health of the people. more sedentary life a person has, the probability or the chances that the person will be affected by a non-communicable disease is on a higher side. Now, if I were to give you examples of what are NCDs, they could be something like a cardiovascular disease, something like a heart attack, or it could be cancer or diabetes or any chronic respiratory disease. Now, the treatment of all these NCDs is going to have a huge financial burden on our economy, and it's going to have a huge outlay on our economy. And I'm sure you might be like, okay, if a person is actually detected with any of these diseases, it will be a burden on that person. How on earth can be it a burden on the economy, right? Well, for that, you have to understand that there are a lot of government hospitals. There'll be a lot of government employees as well, whose entire medical thing will be taken care of by the government. There'll be a lot of people who will be going to certain hospitals which are semi funded by the government. So more and more people getting admitted to these hospitals, finally whose burden it is going to be on? It is going to be a burden on the economy. And to what tune? As per the research report by World Economic Forum and Harvard School of Public Health, they have estimated that India will incur an economic loss of $4.58 trillion for the period of 2012 to 2030 due to the prevalence of non-communicable diseases. In fact, according to WHO, in India, 40% of the household expenses for treating the NCDs are financed either by household borrowing or by sale of assets. But instead of going through this entire pain, if we use a bicycle for at least half of our trips with a distance of less than 5 kilometers, then due to an enhanced health condition, we will have a net present value of savings worth rupees 1435 billion over a 15 years period from 2016 to 2031. Well, one thing needs to be understood, that there are a lot of assumptions in the reports that I am discussing. There are a lot of assumptions like how much average distance will be traveled by a person, how many people will actually get inspired and will start cycling, how many people will continue the habit of cycling, because we know our habits, right? They start on the 1st of January and end on, you know that, right? So there'll be a lot of assumptions involved, but I feel that all these assumptions, even if we are taking, may not be to the tune of whatever this report mentions. Still, I'm sure you have understood that this, if you really start cycling, this can save pretty much a lot of money for the economy. One more disclaimer is that whatever report I'm referring to, latest data, what has been discussed in this report is the 2018 data. We are in 2023 right now, and by now the crude oil prices have definitely shot up. So I hope all, and even healthcare expenditure has shot up. So all in all, will there be a good amount of saving? Answer is yes. The third point is about savings due to reduction in air pollution. And I'm sure again you're going to be like, how come there be a lot of saving due to reduction in air pollution? Now, for that, we have to again understand a point that if the overall air quality is very low due to pollution, then the chances or the probability of a person developing some lung related disease is going to be on a higher side. I'm sure people who are around Delhi are going to definitely agree to this point that I'm saying, right? uh, in fact, it has been seen that where air pollution is pretty high, the mortality rate due to lung diseases is on a comparatively higher side. And again, I'm sure you'll be able to correlate that if there are a lot of people who are staying in polluted areas, then they going in for hospitalization for lung related problems is going to be high. Again, who's going to bear the cost? There are going to be, same logic is same, government hospitals, government employees, semi funded government hospitals, again that burden is going to be high. Now, how much could that be? So for that, again, I referred to a report which said that in a moderate scenario with 50% substitution of motorized vehicles by cycling for trips under an average of 8 kilometers, 241 billion rupees can be saved. And isn't that a huge amount? Again, answer is obviously yes. But then finally, like I said in the beginning of the video, what about electric vehicles? The point here is that, number one, whatever I have read about electric vehicles, I haven't heard about electric vehicles which are charging because of the solar energy on the go, like we are driving and it is getting charged because of the solar power. I have never heard about such a thing. Number two, again, if we are charging our vehicle EV by a traditional source of electricity, we are again damaging our environment to some extent. We are using up coal finally to generate electricity and to use electricity, right? This third point that I wanted to tell you, this is based again on a report which mentions that emissions from cycling can be more than 30 times slower for each trip than driving a fossil fuel car, and about 10 times slower than driving an electric one. All in all, I can say that yes, for sure, if you use all these points that we discussed right now, that can definitely save tons of money for our economy. Now let's do a quick recap of the three benefits that we talked about and the amounts that we as an economy can save due to all these 3 points. Have a look at this chart. You can see that if we talk about personal fuel savings, I've also mentioned how many trips have to be substituted by the bicycle and the methodology or the reports that we have referred to, how much value will be saved, that will be 27 billion rupees. By health benefits, 1435 billion rupees will be saved. By reduced air pollution, 241 billions will be saved. So all in all, total benefits that will be saved, that will be 1.7 trillion rupees for the economy. So do let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you are really inspired by this, and if you would want to take up cycling as an alternative for at least short trips and maybe at least once a week. Do let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to learn more about the budget 2023, you can click here. And if you want to know more about why is Jubilant Foodworks falling, you can click here. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye bye.